Hey everyone, we got Whimsical Winter Tiana yesterday. I hope you guys saw me pull for her. I also already played around with Tiana in Clash of Worlds. Performs very well, I should say, in Clash. Not so much outside of it, but we'll get to the why she doesn't perform as good outside Clash compared to inside Clash in a few minutes or within this review. So let's get started. We might be looking at a little bit longer video today, so let's go. Base form, Tiana is a support unit. Sadly, I don't have all the sprites yet. I also don't have the vision card animation. Too bad, just a little warning sign here that I don't have all the cool PNGs and GIFs for today. Anyway, in Brave Shift, she is an elemental LB finisher, 5 elements. Yeah, that's not cool. I mean, it's cool for this clash, but it's bad for everything else, literally. But we'll get to that. And she has 5 different elements, which we'll get to in a moment too, that she can chain. So, her abilities, as you can see, I had to split this up so the passives are on the next slide. Here they are. Let's check out the cooldowns, so to say. 30% throwing in peril, which is okay, I guess. Would have preferred 35% just to streamline the clash units a little bit more. 85 spirit break, which I find rather disappointing. Should have been 90% in my opinion, such that we can bench Louise finally. But as it appears, whenever there is a boss weak to fire, we're gonna bring Louise again. And Louise really doesn't do much these days, other than field and 90% spirit break, I would say, but I guess that's enough. And the 35% gun in peril, of course. What I do like, though, is Iridescent Invention, which is an absorb to 5 elements. It's fire, lightning, water, wind, and earth, which are also the elements that she can use. However, it's only to one ally. Now, this is a cool thing, so to say, nonetheless. Just imagine, hypothetically, that there is a boss, such as Treshen, who deals absurd amounts of damage, different elements, right? This could be cool on your magic tank, or provoke tank, or tank in general, such that this tank survives. Tiana would have been actually pretty good for Treshen last month, but yeah, she would probably not have sold as much as she does now. But this ability, I like it a lot. It's 1 use per battle, so use it carefully. But when you use it, it's awesome. Revitalizing Brew, yeah. MP HP heal split over 5 turns. Decent, 280 stats, blah. She herself gets undispellable 300 magic and spirit, which is blah. We do use 400% stats in Clash anyway. And most of the time we are bringing Aerith, Cetra Descendant Aerith anyway, and she has 400% stats, so whatever, pretty much on this one. Too bad it doesn't have morale gain as well. Would have been a decent one if it had morale gain as well. I feel like her supporting capabilities should have been more streamlined with Kresnik, so to speak, where she does have at least a cooldown that is really filling morale a lot. Like Rainbow Colored Remedy, it's 1 use per battle, 500 morale. For a 1 use per battle ability, I do expect a little bit more than 500 morale. This should have been 2000 morale just to make it worthwhile. I mean, Arcane Stimulant from Kresnik, he has 4 turns of his, what's it called, Brave Shift, Trance Shift. So you can use this technically 4 times, so that's 4000 morale gain. Or 8000 if you count the auto proc from it, so 7000, sorry. So this should have been at least 2000 in my opinion, just to make it more worthwhile. But the ability in itself is amazing. It's a 150 element buff to 5 elements, 5 turns, fire, lightning, water, earth, wind. Awesome stuff. And it's a permanent to the same elements, 75% resistance buff to all allies. It's, yeah, in terms of supporting skills, this is pretty good, I would say. It's Unless the next Clash boss exclusively uses light and dark. And is there another element that is missing from this? There probably is, yeah, light, dark, ice. If the next Clash boss uses only these or exclusively these three elements, yeah, Tiana's gonna try. She'll be useless. But let's not play the devil's advocate here, right? And the abilities, I mean, this is one of her greatest issues. She has cool amps, and that also do have pretty sweet additional gimmicks, such as the 50% general mitigation to all allies or the 2 evade stacks. It's 30% amp to fire, earth, wind, lightning, and water. Yep. But and 50% to herself, but no amps. So either way, you have to bring a unit that either imbues, such as, say, Louise or Nicole or Sekura, Roka, for example, to name a few, or Bulwark. So in that case, why bother? Because all the aforementioned units, they do 45% amps, or better even. In the case of Bulwark, he does 60% to wind. So why bother bringing Tiana to this? If it's for a single specific element outside Clash, now inside Clash, this is still okay for herself. She needs all 5 of those regardless. But in terms of support, yeah, this reads pretty cool. But when you think about this and take a step back and think about this, yeah, you still have to bring in a unit that can imbue these elements, or otherwise it's absolutely trashy and useless. Alright, the other thing I do like is the electric yellow, which is an LB gauge fill for the whole party, 5 LB crystals. I mean, she can pentacast, so that's 25. Most units have either 60 or 40 LB, so it either fills half or almost half of this, of the LB gauge, so it's nice. And nutritious tonic breaks, cure status breaks and increases resistance, nothing too fancy, but it's an MP heal, so that's good if you do something very bad in this Clash. The passives, now I do want to point out one thing here, and that is the overenthusiastic research. It's the greatest letdown I've ever seen on a unit. It reads that it increases aquatics and plant killers by 150 when she's equipped with a throwing weapon. I don't know what Gumi was smoking when they made this unit, but hard locking a unit to throwing weapons, one of the worst, the absolute worst weapon types in the game for magic DPS, is the dumbest thing I've seen all year around. It's even worse than Coralie, who is locked to whips. That's how I feel about it. And that's just the hard truth. You cannot make any excuse for this dumb decision. They should have been flat, just 150 aquatic plant kill, and let us just use whatever weapon we want, be it instruments, because we are using Bulwark anyway this Clash, so might as well give her an instrument for the Instrument Emperor. No, it had to be trash throwing weapons. What a dumb idea. It's so stupid, it's unbelievably idiotic. There's just no words to comprehend the stupidness of this decision. But yeah, other than that, 5x chain cap, 400 true double hand, so at least that's something, I guess. What a letdown. Anyway, base LB increases all element amps 30% for party. Undispellable, which is cool, restores full MP HP to all allies, and 500 morale gain, which is decent. And here it is, 60 LB cost, for example. Brave Shift, more of the same, but this time it's not supporting skills. The 5 aforementioned elements are damaging skills, imperiling by 130, and you have to stack them up 25 times to reach the maximum of 6x to one enemy. Now the chaining itself, the chaining move itself is fine, each one of them. It's either Chaos Wave Awakened or Bolting Strike. But dude, it's unreal. You're taking 6 turns of setup to then burst on turn 8 with Pentacast, because by the time you're done stacking, you have to reapply her Pentacast unlock. So yeah, it's 7 turns of preparation, such that you can burst on turn 8 if I'm not totally mistaken. But then on a Pentacast scenario, you do have a 1680 modification on her damaging skills in chaining in total. So 336x multiplied by 5. That's pretty good. Not gonna lie. So in terms of chaining, whenever you need a pentacasting chain bot, which you probably will ever do. But if you ever need one, together with Yegni, for example, she's here, she's good, has 5 elements, so that's a use case for her outside of Clash of Wills, one that you will most likely never explore. However, she does have triple and quad casts too, so in that case she is rather flexible. She can quad cast Chaos Wave Awakened, Fire and Lightning with your magic DPS, or triple Bolting Strike with your physical DPS. There are some niche use cases where she might be good to use, but keep in mind the build-up is long, and I know many people hate long build-ups. People hate stacking Angela for 5 times. So what does Tiana? Tiana takes a whole turn longer than Angela, and if people already hated Angela stacking, why are people giving Tiana a pass suddenly? I can't comprehend, to be honest, but maybe it's just bias, or I don't know what. Other than that, retains most of the stuff from the base form, but Fantastic Formula is another cool ability. It's a perfect total dispel, meaning we are removing all buffs from all enemies and remove all debuffs from us. 2 uses per battle, very useful. It's one of her greatest skills, and it's in a damaging form, so you don't have to, or you won't lose much DPS at all, which is cool. So yeah, I like it. The passives in Brave Shift are almost, if not entirely, identical. So yeah, throwing weapon stuff still retains. And one thing to note, you might have guessed or seen it already, there are 0 LB passives on this. So this is another original Ibarra debacle where you want her to use her LB in Clash, but you have to build it up from 0. And to get her to 300 is full whale territory. You need double Yuna STMR, Neo Vision Yuna STMR for that. And a lot more other things, including time-limited Zoma's STMR, for example, and Sora's STMR. So this is getting out of hand. It's super bad that she has 0% LB passives. This is her LB, so in Clash this goes up to 730x, thus being the highest LB mod. But keep in mind, she's an entirely magical focused DPS and thus has no variance. And if there's anything we've learned from that, is that you have to double this value to make her worthwhile. They did this right with Angela. Angela almost has the same amount or the same value as this, but she's not a Clash unit. So they should have made this limit burst 1500x, and she would have been comparable to Sky or Lara. And as we'll see in a few moments, as of right now, she is not. The other thing that I highly dislike is the 5 element part. So while she does imperil all elements that she's using by 130, it's still 5 elements. The moment the boss is like absorbing water, for example, or is highly resistant to, say, earth or wind, her damage will fall apart, because it always takes the average imperil, the average values of all these elements combined, and if 1 or 2 even are highly resisted, her damage immediately falls off a cliff. And this time it literally falls off a cliff. She's like losing 30, 40, 50% if 1 or 2 elements are already highly resisted. And the other thing I highly dislike about her limit burst is increase magic damage against aquatic and plant. Name one magic, exclusively magic DPS that we have right now for Clash. I'm waiting because you won't be able to name one, because all magic DPS we've got so far, outside Oliveira, are physically typed. Thank you, Gumi, for nothing. The TMR and STMR. TMR, it's an accessory, 58 magic, auto shell, auto protect. I made a spelling error, whoopsie daisy. 100% defense spirit, 30% physical magical mitigation. It's okay for DV auto. I'm so dumb. For Clash auto buffing, this should say. Let me fix this slide. I'll be back in a second. Alright, we're back. So I fixed the errors. It's okay for Clash of Wills auto buffing, but it's pretty meh otherwise, to be honest. It's just there, doing nothing really. The STMR is a rope, 88 magic, 70 spirit, 30% magic and spirit, and 10% MP recovery per turn, which is cool. And 500 static attack for Tiana only. Now, while this is the highest rope, magic rope we've got in the game, it fights for a spot with the Clash chain cap clothes, and especially since she is a limit burst unit in Clash, it also fights with the 85 rope from Wizard Enchanterdo, which provides 50% LB damage. So technically speaking, Tiana wants to use Wizard Enchanterdo's rope, but she can't, because she's hard-locked to her STMR, just like Sephiroth is, because of the static magic gain. And the static magic sadly does make a difference. A huge difference even. Too bad, honestly. They should have swapped this around, give the accessory the 500 static magic and let us just ignore the rope. Honestly, this would have been the better option, but Gumi is Gumi. I feel like whenever Gumi makes units these days, one is a hit, one is a miss. We had a hit with Maeve last month, we have a miss this month with Tiana, so the next one in January is probably going to be a hit again. Let's move on to the vision card. Like I mentioned earlier, no animation today, but it is a very cool, cute and cool animation. It's a 110 magic card, so it's okay. 30% magic spirit, 15% to the 5 elements she does, and FFBE only units gain 50% Aqua and Plant Killer, however, magic only. So, yeah, I mean, if you're using Shinju, Summer Physalis, this is going to come in handy. But if you want to use this on Angela, too bad, she can't, because Angela is using physical killers. But all in all, it's a solid mage card. The killers being magic though is a huge turnoff. So let's do the damage calculations. I'm just realizing I did not update the sheet, but this is the usual one. What we are looking at is technically a boss with 100,000 defense and spirit, 100% elemental all resist, and 100% passive defense and spirit. So I updated this and you will see why, or I will explain again when we see the numbers, but the rest of it still applies. This is the Tiana build that I'm currently using in Clash of Wills. It should be the best in slot build for this particular clash, at least for me. There is an option to use Diverti's STMR. However, Diverti's STMR, which has 50% LB damage, which would allow me then to cap all things such as killers and LB, it has a lot less attack. She's losing 17 magic points, and being a true double hand unit, this translates into a lot of magic lost. So because the builder isn't updated yet and I'm just too lazy to insert the values in my sheet, I don't know which is better, but I would figure this one is better, especially for me. I don't have, I would have to get 2 Divertis from the obnoxious drops. I would get the STMR without any item world rolls, so no point in doing this for me right now. But this is a good build. Okay, and yeah, here's the damage comparison. Now, this is strictly Clash. I did not do Dark Visions or outside Clash calculations because, come on, 180x with 5 elements, we're not gonna do this. We are absolutely not gonna do this. So yeah, Tiana technically performs worst when each unit finds its best case scenario. So Lara is built towards beast humans, Sky is built towards dragon undead, and I think I built Carton for human and reapers. Yeah, true double hand build. I certainly did, and I built Tiana just like you saw. So yeah, she's slightly behind in a best case scenario for each unit, behind everyone else. But when it comes to this particular Clash of Wills that we are at right now, Tiana suddenly is the best DPS. So this whole thing is almost being upside down. Well, technically only Tiana switches up to the top spot and is slightly above Lara. But in the grand scheme of things, when you compare them at their absolute best, Tiana is the bottom tier. And the reason for that mainly is that she suffers from no variance, while all the other units in this slide are using two-handed weapons. Now, we got news today that the JP server is going to update magic DPS rather soon, that they will be able to use variance. So whenever this hits the global server, units such as Angela or Tiana, they will suddenly skyrocket. Especially Angela is going to skyrocket in damage. Tiana as well. I haven't calculated her with the true double hand variance update for magic DPS because we don't know the formula. We don't know how they're gonna tackle this. Hopefully just carbon copy of the attackers formula. It's gonna be fine, but we'll have to see to make a final judgment on this. But things are looking good for magic DPS in 6 months from now, whenever Global also gets this. But yeah, Alum finally acknowledged the issue of mages, so that's good. So how does she fare in the meta? Let's recap all of this, right, shall we? Amps without imbues, a Clash LB unit with 0 LB passives, 0 killers unless she's equipped with a bad throwing weapon, needs 25 stacks of elements to do decent chain damage, only does magic killers on limit burst, the LB takes ages to fire off and has 5 elements, which is super bad. On the plus side though, she has a couple of very neat gimmicks like the 5 element absorb, the perfect total dispel, or the 2 stacks evasion, the barrier, the 50% general mitigation, the LB fill. So there are a few cool things. Also the 150 resistance buff to the 5 elements and the 75 permanent one. Those are really cool things that make her stand out on the supporting side of things. Also the one thing that Shaylee also teased when they announced Tiana is that the revive plus re-raise on auto attack. It's actually a cool mechanic. You definitely will throw off a couple of people in the arena with that, but if people are using Sinsar's pretty sweet strat with Bushido Freedom, nobody's going to care about it. But yeah, it certainly will throw a few people off that don't use Bushido Freedom. So yeah, should you pull? Oh, by the way, her re-raise, revive and re-raise is a cool thing to use for 3-star Behemoth if you want to go for a clear on that, because yeah, it's just good to have. Anyway, should you pull? She's tailor-made for this specific Clash boss, and it's very apparent, right? Her usefulness entirely depends on the next bosses. Will they have strong elemental resistances against one or two or more even of her elements? If the answer is yes, Tiana will most likely not see any use. She is garbage tier outside of Clash of Wills in terms of DPS. I do want to strictly mention this in terms of DPS. And the reason is fairly simple. By the time you stack up her chaining, the boss is either dead or you have to make huge concessions to make this work. It's 5 turns or at least 6 turns of setup. It's just taking too long. The other reason is her LB damage. If you want to use this, is only a 180x, which then is also devalued by it being 5 elements. So truthfully, she's not worth it. She's absolutely not worth it. And one thing you have to also consider is that when you do all of this, like stacking her, etc., you have then to go back to the base form and do her amp and the pentacast unlock, which is just one more turn of wasting DPS and waiting. She's just not good as a DPS outside of Clash of Worlds. We have to face this truth, sadly, but she is a good supporter. She does have a couple of niche uses that I may or may not use in trials, which are a joke anyway, and also LoL trials, when do we ever get trials these days? But for trials, she does a few neat tricks that will certainly come in handy. And yeah, that's about it, right? So yeah, verdict is pull if you want a versatile unit that wants to be a jack of all trades, but is a master of none, essentially. Or do it like me, I pulled for the sprite mainly, and because she's a very fun to use unit, plus time limited, and she's also kind of needed to cap this Clash of Worlds, which is also super hard in itself, because the morale scoring part of this is super annoying, even with Kresnik going absolutely crazy in terms of morale. It's barely doable to get the 30,000 scoring points, and to cap Clash of Worlds you can't use Kresnik, and I have no idea how to get 30 or max morale scoring without Kresnik. But if neither of this concerns you, just skip her, you won't miss anything. And that is it for today. Thank you all for watching. Have a wonderful rest of the evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you're from. Merry Christmas to all of you, because I believe this video releases in an hour from now, which will be 4 p.m. I'll be on my way today to family, etc. So yeah, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and we'll see each other either late today or at the latest tomorrow for lots of videos. I have my all mods clear is almost planned out. I have a turn 4 or turn 5 farming team almost planned out. I do plan to use slime for a couple of meme videos. Lots of things to do, so I hope you guys are looking forward to this weekend. Lots of videos are in the making. See you then, bye bye.